And what
Man.
Sam didn't want to do was handicap me. And that's why he told me to sleep in my car. And that's honestly the reason why I'm in South America right now, is because, being an entrepreneur, being homeless that was my boogeyman, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was like, yo, because I'm the only entrepreneur in my family, right? My uncles, one of my uncles told me, like, and he made a joke, but he was like, all right, you be an entrepreneur, you're gonna be homeless, right? So that was always my biggest fear, was being homeless.
Yeah.
But once I talked to Sam and he said that, man, I was like, let's do it. Like, I can do
All
it. And
in.
yeah, and because of that, man, it gave me, right, when I came to Colombia, when I moved down, and we can go back, but I'll just jump forward
Yeah.
real quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
When I moved to Colombia, I didn't know nobody, man. I hadn't even visited Colombia before. I just read about it. I read about the weather. I read about the infrastructure. I watched a couple of videos, and I was like, that sounds like a cool place. I'm gonna go there for 6 months, and if I don't like it, I'll leave.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I didn't know one person here. But the reason why I was able to do that is because I'd already faced my boogeyman.
Mm.
Nothing
I,
else can, like, what's gonna get me now?
I love that, man. The boogeyman.
Yeah.
Man, I love that. As as kids, you always talk about the boogeyman, right? And as you progress through life, as you go from your childhood to your teenage, and then your adolescence and your adulthood, these fears become the boogeyman, right? And being able to attach the boogeyman to something, you've been able to overcome that, which is unbelievable, right? I've already been homeless. That was my boogeyman. I've already was homeless. I
Yeah.
know what that was like. I don't want to go back, but if I had to, I've already been there.
I've
I
already
think
been there.
I think for a lot of us, either we're entrepreneurs, or we like the job that we're at.
Mm-hmm.
It's finding that boogeyman. What is that boogeyman? If I don't take this promotion, right? If I don't go after this promotion, I'm afraid to go after it because I might be rejected, right? Or if I see an opportunity with another company, but if my current company catches wind of it, I'm going to get let go. And that's a lot to take in as a parent, right?
It is.
A parent with kids, and you've got mortgages and cars and notes and everything. But when you can face the boogeyman, and you can look the boogeyman in the eye and say, you don't own me anymore. You can't occupy the space anymore. I have limited space between my ears, and I only allow so much to come in. Man, that's freaking awesome. I love that. I love attaching a fear to the boogeyman. That's powerful, very impactful, very impactful. So why move? Why now? You've been in this transition, you've been in the States, you moved down to, Colombia. Take us through that process of why go down there? Like, why go to a space that you've never been to, people you don't even know? Weather's great. I mean, obviously, California weather's great too. So what was that mindset? What was that process of moving down to another country and not knowing a single thing, and then just saying, hey, we're going to knock this out?
So after I was homeless, I come out of homelessness. So 3 years I was hustling, right? I'm doing a lot of stuff. I'm driving for Uber, right? And I was driving for Uber when I started this job. I started off making 30,000, and in 13 months I went from 30,000 to 90,000. Because I wasn't working for money. Like, they were like, yo, how are you, like, we've never seen nobody like you. But I'm like, yo, I'm not working for money. I'm working to learn. Right. So at 90,000, I'm driving for Uber. I'm renting my car out on the weekends. I'm just hustling, man. And so that's how I was able to give away 2 cars. Right. So that followed 2 years after I was homeless. I gave away 2 cars. One of the best feelings of my life. I'm like, yo, this was an amazing feeling, because when I thought I had nothing, when I was going through my portion of homelessness, I still had a car, right? So I wanted to give that to somebody else. 2 years, 2 years after that, I'm still on the go. I give away 4 more cars. And I'm like, yo, this is a great feeling, but I feel like it's only to one person, right? It's like
Right.
I'm giving them a vehicle but I'm not giving them the true vehicle that got me to where I am.
Okay.
So I was like, I want to be able to help people out. And I want to prove it to myself that, everything I've learned is legit. Like, I want to put what I've learned to the test. Have I truly overcome my boogeyman? Well, one way to find out is go somewhere you know nobody. Go somewhere where you don't. All my life I said I wanted to learn Spanish, right?
Okay.
Cool. Go somewhere where you be immersed, where you'll be forced to learn it,
Yep.
right? You have, like, you're totally on your own. That's a new boogeyman. Are you scared of it? No, I'm not scared of it. Let's roll, right? And it was just one of the things, like, and then it was. I feel like I want to show my bloodline that greatness is in our blood. Right? I want to show my brothers and sisters and my nieces and nephews that, greatness is in our bloodline. And I want people to be like, I got an uncle, right? I got an uncle that's here. And it's funny to hear the pride people talk about when they talk about me being in Colombia. It's like, yeah, my uncle live in South America.
Yep, that's true.
Right. And it started off as proving it to myself first. And then I started seeing the what it did for my family, just knowing that I did something. And it wasn't because of the military, right? We had relatives that went overseas, but it was to fighting wars and be stationed. Like, nah, this is something I decided to do. And then I loved it. I loved it. I love Medellin. I don't know if I'll ever move away from here, man.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So yeah, the whole no, I believe in practicing what I preach, right? And one of the reasons I have a lot of people that ask me, like, oh man, you should be more famous, with your story. And my thing is, I have to mastery over motivation, right? It's certain things I feel like I have to master before I teach people. Right? I don't want to be the person that reads it and tells you, and no, I want to master it. Once I master it, then I'll teach. But I typically don't ever teach anybody something before I master it. I don't believe that.
Man, so I need to read this to you. This is off of your LinkedIn page. If you guys go follow him, we'll have all the links and stuff for you to follow AJ. But this is off his LinkedIn page, and just what his statement, what he just said is it ties in perfectly, right? He says there are many people whose lives and message are impactful and need to be shared. The best way to do this is to first transform yourself to a person worth hearing. There are so many life hacks that we can use to create a better life for ourselves. One of the best things you can learn is the skill of selling. And I think the skill of selling doesn't necessarily always mean you're selling money or you're selling a product or you're selling something, right? We have to move away from the art of selling, because selling your story is more like telling your story. The best salespeople tell the best stories, right? They paint the best imagery. As you guys have been listening to AJ, we've been talking, man, we've injected barber stuff. We've injected butterfly stuff, man. We've injected the wisdom that he's got from his mentors, right? He even said, look, I taking pictures with famous people don't equate to money coming in the mail, checks in the mail.
Yeah,
I mean, think about that for a second. You see everybody out there posting pictures of them with famous people or a nice car or this or that. It doesn't equate to checks coming in the mail. I think that's so powerful. But teaching people to selling is really just the art of having the confidence to speak. Overcoming the boogeyman. This whole thing's gonna be titled "Overcoming the Boogeyman" because or mom, one of the two, right?
Whatever you choose.
Mastery over motivation. I mean, it is just so impactful what we have learned to this point. So, take us down. How do you help people? How do you help people get to where they are? They have that voice, like teaching someone to sell. Not necessarily a product, it can be, but just getting people to that point where they feel confident enough to share that part of their story.
So the biggest thing, man, is enthusiasm, right? And I don't mean enthusiasm and, oh my God, this is the best thing, right?
Yeah.
I look at enthusiasm and I take the last four letters of enthusiasm and I turn it into an acronym, which is I am sold myself.
Mm. That's
If,
wow.
if you want to be a great salesperson, you need to be sold yourself. You need to be sold on a product, right? You sold me to come on here, right? How did you sell me to come on here? Yo, you were so passionate about this. You knew this was life changing. You what and selling is the transfer of energy. You transferred the energy that you had to me and got me excited.
Oh, thank you.
Right? Because that's what selling is. Selling is a transfer of energy. And selling is a two-step process, right? When people buy things, and when I mean buy, I'm talking about just saying yes. You do it twice. The first thing you have to do is you have to get them to see themselves doing it, right? And then once they can see themselves doing it, then they can do it, right? So when you were telling me about the podcast, you had me so hyped and was like, yo, the conversation will be like this. And I'm seeing us having the conversation. So I got excited, like, yo, when you want to do it?
Yep.
Right? Because that's what selling is. It's a transfer. It's that transfer, man, of belief. You made me believe because you believe. I could tell that you were sold, 100% sold in what you're doing. Right? Which then makes it easier for me to buy in because I'm like, yo, he believes it. Right. One of the biggest things I tell people about selling is I don't need you to believe me. That's not what I'm doing when I'm trying to convince somebody. I need you to believe that I believe me. That's it. Once you know that I believe me, that's half the battle.
And that's true, man. And that's the thing. Like it is that transfer of energy, right? People want to gravitate to the strength that's out there. And you don't have to necessarily be selling a product. You don't have to own your own business. You could be a parent, you could be that parent trying to tell your children, this is what, to do X, Y, and Z, but they want to feel that energy. They want to feel like they're going to be accomplishing something as opposed to just being a taskmaster.
Yeah.
And you're so
100%.
right. You're so right of just having that clarity of thought and working with yourself first, right? Finding that inner passion, because you're right, man. It comes across. And I remember our conversation prior to getting on the podcast, man. I could feel the energy that you were doing and what you're portraying and how you were wanting to help people. And just your story. Yeah, your story is so impactful. Going from homeless to giving away multiple cars to owning a barbershop, taking a passion and a love. So let me ask you this question. How old were you? When did you know you own and bought your own barbershop? Because look, you started it as a kid to help other people feel good about themselves. Because you got tired of the way that your mom would cut your hair. Shout out to mom. We love mom, right? Shout out to pops.
But yeah, she is not a barber.
Pops, yeah,
exactly. They're right, not barbers.
It's like you saw this need and like, man, if I could just cut people's hair, they would feel good. That transformed to, man, you cut a lot of good hair. You went to college. Then you were taking, what started out as a passion became like, I'll make money. This time I'm going to make money. Then you were taking business away from an actual business owner, got all the way through barber school free. At what point then after, take us through when you opened up that barbershop?
So I was actually still in college, man. I just got finished playing football. Shout out to Southeast Missouri State. So I played football for SEMO, and after my senior season, I was going to barber school full time, and I was going to school full time. And unfortunately, and I don't suggest this to people, but I didn't go to college for education. I went to college to play football. Right. That's why I went. Like, I love football. If they could have let me do it without college, I probably would have. I've always had this fight with the educational system, right? It's like, because I realized at a very young age that all I had to do was regurgitate what you told me and I would get an A or B, right? And at the worst, a C, right? Yeah. But I didn't ever feel like I was learning. So I went to school, but I was like, what am I going to do? Well, I found joy cutting hair, So, I went through the whole process to get my degree, and, but my joy was actually in the conversations that I was having with people and feeling like I was making a difference, right? One person at a time, building the relationships, seeing people glow when I got finished. And my coaching actually started in a barber chair. I just I didn't call it coaching back then.
Yeah.
I was just, man, I'm just chopping it up with people. Hey man, what you going through? Let's work through it. These are some of the things that you might be able to do. And, it was, and that's where actually in barber school was actually when I started reading. I had a guy that was in barber school with me. He was like, man, AJ, you like, I can tell you different than a lot of people in here. My mother gave me this book. She told me to read it. I read it. I think you should read it. And that was the first book I've ever read from probably beginning to end. And it was Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that started me on the path to where to being a reader, right? And consuming just knowledge. And one of the reasons, I go back to the fact that I don't teach without first mastering, was because I read this time where this woman comes up to I forget what monk it was, but she goes to this famous monk and she was like, can you get my kid to stop eating sweets? And the monk is like, yeah, come back in 30 days. And she's like, okay. So to go away, come back in 30 days. And she's like, can you get my kid to stop eating sweets? And he said, yeah, stop eating sweets. And the kid stopped. And she said, well, why couldn't you tell him that 30 days ago? And he said, well, 30 days ago, I was still eating sweets.
Yep. I love that story.
Right. So that's my thing. Like, yo, let me, I don't want to have people doing stuff that I'm not doing. That's not cool.
Yeah.
So let me figure that out. And that's where the quote that you read, right? Become somebody that's worth listening to. And you do that through your actions, not through your words, right? People can tell if you legit, but you may be able to fool people in the beginning, but as I get closer to you, I'm gonna tell if you legit. And I think that's why a lot of people that I'm gonna throw a dagger out of the coaching industry, but that's why a lot of people in the coaching industry and in the personal development industry don't like people getting close to them. Because you'll see that I'm not living what I preach. So my thing is, no, man, I'm gonna live what I preach, and then once I'm living it, then I can teach you. So when you come back to me, I'm impeccable with my word. I'm not telling you to do something that I wouldn't do myself.
Man, look, at this point, if you don't have 3-4 pages of notes, you can pause it by all means and go back and re-listen to it. That's what's the beauty of what we're doing. You said a lot of things there, but the one thing that I loved that you said the most was, as you learn to build yourself, you can then help others, right? There's no way a person can save a burning home from another burning home if they don't put the flames out of their own burning home. Yeah. Practice what you preach is huge. I mean, it is amazing, right? Rich Dad, Poor Dad, we've talked about a lot. Napoleon Hill was the one where you burned your ships, right? Led over a group, burnt the ships, said, hey, look, we either conquer or we're all going to die, right? We found the boogeyman, conquering the boogeyman, right? And so there's this this warped sense of view of what personal development is and mindset training, because people think, oh, it's just, a lot of fluff. And you're right. There's a lot of fluff out there, but it's finding those ones that you can attach to, right? That people speak to you. They can speak to you. That energy is being transferred. Man, that's awesome.
Yo, hey, man, I'm gonna tell you what's funny. You just made me think of something that Sam told me. Because he said, he was like, AJ, what do you want to do? And I was like, Sam, I really want to help. I really want to help poor people. I really want to help people that are, that are struggling. That that's like my passion. He said, if you really want to help poor people, don't be one.
I love it. Oh man, that's so good. That is so good.
You know what? And that's when the transformation came for myself first. Like, that's when I started being like, yo, I got to work on me first, because how am I going to help them if I'm not there?
Yeah.
So
Well, look, guys, we're running low on time. We want to be respectful. I definitely want to be respectful of AJ's time. I appreciate it. But I need to read this to you because it's very interesting, the space that you're getting into, or that you're currently you're already in and deep with. According to the marketresearch.com, there are an estimated 40,000 plus professional speakers in the US alone. So please help us, AJ. You already alluded to it, but why get into this space when there's so much, right? There's so much noise and there's so much being thrown out at people. Why get in a space that often somebody else might say, well, it's already oversaturated. I'm already not at the top. You know, take us through why get into a space such as coaching.
So coaching, so I know they don't go together, coaching and professional speaking, but I put them together because I feel like if you're a coach, you should be speaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're a speaker, you should probably be coaching. Because typically when you're a speaker, you speak for 45 minutes. You're not going to change anybody's life for 45 minutes, right? I tell the people that I train, my students, in 45 minutes, all I'm going to do is enlighten you. That's it, right? I'm gonna shine light on your situation, and then I'm going to make you want more, right? The transformation comes from coaching. The reason I think people should get into it, even though a lot of people think it's oversaturated, is because there are still that bottom percent that needs the help. It's so much bigger than the 40,000 that's out there, right? And you can take the best in the world. You can take your Tony Robbins, your Grant Cardones, whoever. They're going to be people that message is not going to resonate with them, right? And you have no idea how yours will. And that's my thing. It's like anybody that has like this inclination that I want to help people, I feel like you have that because there's somebody in the world that's waiting to hear your message. Right. That's why I feel like you have that tug on you, because it's somebody that's waiting to hear your message, and start sharing your message and see if that tug goes away. And it probably won't, because there's a lot more people that need to hear your message, and there's a lot more people that need to be helped. So I'm like, yo, get your message out there, because out of all the people that you think are out there, there's a certain set and group of people that are made specifically for your message. And they're not going to change until they hear your message, because you're going to resonate with them, not anybody else.
Man, that's one of the best definitions or the best explanations of why, getting out and coaching and sharing a message to help inspire. You may not make millions. You're not talking about you, AJ, but those that are listening, you may not make millions, right? You may not see massive fruits from that labor, but go back to what AJ said. You can make the biggest impact with the smallest little thing, the smallest little, a little note, a little story, a little, hey, this is how, what we did, right? As parents, we're well on, our kids are over, my kid, I have a variation. We have a 26 all the way down to, 11-year-old, right? We're a blended family, so that's always fun. When you're blending families, and so those that are listening, you may not be like, I don't want to be in front of everybody. That's fine. But your message, like AJ said, your message can resonate with 1, 2, 10, 20, 100.
Yeah.
And you can impact them for a greater good, generational change. AJ talked about it. His nieces and nephews love telling their friends, oh, I got an uncle South America. But he's given them this dream ability, this dreaming of, my circumstances aren't going to dictate where I am. It's not going to dictate who I am. And I am going to accept the outcomes of all my own choices. Nobody else I can blame but myself. Man, just wow. The wisdom and knowledge that we've had on this show is just absolutely incredible. You're building on that, AJ, man. I appreciate that so much. So lastly, as we start to wrap this up, guys, take us through your business, what it is you do, how you help people, how you get people to get over that boogeyman mindset. Take us through the business, and then obviously tell us how we can reach out to you, social media, your website, whatnot. But yeah, just take us through your business.
So for me, the primary part of my business is just showing people the keys to freedom. I do that through putting on events, by doing courses. Like I have an event coming up in July 21st through the 24th, down here in Medellin, Colombia, and it's my wealth, health, and happiness retreat. And I teach people the 5 levels of freedom, which are mental freedom, time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom, and then lifestyle freedom. And it doesn't take what most people think, right? Everybody thinks you have to make millions and all of this, and that's not true, man. That's not true. Like, and then I break down how happiness isn't tied to a number, right? And so that's one of my like flagship events, because that's, to me, that's one of the things that change people's lives. I've been able to get, man, a nice handful of people free from their situation, and now for me, that's more, that feels better than giving away cars now, is to watch people be able to live life on their own terms and have the wealth, health, and happiness that they desire. Because my thing is, if you get wealth and you don't have health, wealth doesn't matter, right? So yeah, I'll put it all together. So yeah, if they like what they heard, definitely hit me up. They can go to go.ajvassar.com to get more information on that. And I don't know when this comes out, but one of the things I'll do for them is whenever you put this out, I'll still honor the early bird pricing, since they'll just be hearing it for the first time. So yeah, that's, and then as far as social media, man, all my social media is at AJ Vassar. AJ V as in Victor, ASSAR dot yeah, AJ Vassar. I was about to say AJVassar.com. But yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
just man, look, first of all, I can't thank you enough for being able to rearrange your schedule to be on today. Just a true professional. The knowledge everybody they have learned on this is going to be impactful for not just now, but for years to come. Man, as we wrap up, here's a scenario for you. You're at your barbershop, you're cutting hair, right? Someone comes up and says, how can I help people feel valued through my own message? What would give this individual 1 or 2 steps that they can do to start that path to help others feel valued?
So the first thing I would tell that individual is, do you feel your message is valuable? All right. And I know that goes, it's like, because, and I say that because if we don't believe our message is valuable, then it's not going to add value to others. All right. And we all of our messages are valuable, honestly. People, I have to tell people, you don't have to be homeless to have an impact, right? You don't have to go through hard times to have an impact. There's a lot of people that I work with, and they're like, I don't feel like I have a good story because I didn't struggle. And I'm like, that's the story. Like, yo, set people up so you don't have to struggle. Like, yo, my kids ain't gonna have to do this. Like, yeah. I don't want my kids to go through that, right? So everybody has a message that's valuable. First, you have to believe it, right? So the first thing is believe. Start believing your message is valuable. And then after you believe it, then just start sharing it with the right heart, just wanting people to get better, right? And if you do that, then what'll happen is you'll repel a lot of people, but you'll also attract a lot of people. So that's the advice I give people. Like, don't be afraid to repel people, right? Everybody wants their messages to be magnetic. We don't realize that magnets repel and attract. Man. So don't just focus on attracting. It's okay to repel people. That means that you're also attracting people.
Ooh. Wow. Yeah, deep thoughts right there, boy, ladies and gentlemen. That's just knowledge upon knowledge. That's a man who believes, who's been through, who wants people not to have to feel like they're homeless, to have a story, and create a story with your own story. AJ, man, that's fantastic. I do this before I let everybody go. 5 books. Give me 5 books that you recommend everybody to read or to listen to It could be anything from, personal development to business to spiritual to growth, whatever. But 5 books, you're like, these are core books that you just have to read.
So 5 books. Wow. Because I have so many. So first one, I'm gonna go with Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Definitely read that. James Allen wrote a book, As a Man Thinketh.
I love it.
Yeah, I love As a Man Thinketh. I love David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me. That you talk about just putting yourself, like, the mental fortitude to make it through stuff. Like, yeah, Can't Hurt Me. The 4th book would probably be a book by Jay Shetty. I forget what it's called, but it's about his life as Think Like a Monk. Yep, Think Like a Monk. Because he says something in there that's so profound. He's like, yo, if you wanted to learn how to play basketball, you'll probably go to the greatest basketball players. If you want to learn how to be happy, go to the happiest people, right? And it's been scientifically proven that monks are the happiest people, right? Just based on, like, their brainwave functions. And then the last book, and this is I guess this is my plug. It would be a book I wrote called Day Grades. And it's I started grading my days to get out of homelessness, right? Because I realized if I wanted to have a great life, I needed to put together great years, which means I had to have great months, which ultimately mean I had to have a collection of great days. So I started grading myself, man. And that's how I did it. And just to, and I'll give an extra one, an extra book in there. The 4 Agreements. The 4 Agreements.
Nope.
The 4 Agreements. If you can master the first agreement, your life will change.
Yep.
Your life will change if you can master the first one. So yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Look, man, I honestly feel like I just ripped my shirt off, bang on my chest, and run through my wall, man. I'm just empowered by knowledge and what the inspiration that you've been able to share on the show. Man, we will have all the books down below. We'll have them. We'll have the links, how you can connect with AJ. Man, guys, thank you so much for all the support, all the likes, the shares. Make sure you share this, man. The impact that we're having on people is amazing. And stories like AJ will just are the tipping of the iceberg. We love it. AJ, thank you so much for being a part of the project. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being a part of this. This has been another great episode of The Art Study of You, and we will catch you on the next episode. Thanks, guys.